Oh, Breaker's loose again! Breaker! Spear! Breaker loose again! About cut Reigns in half!
Wrestling words. What unfolded after Clash in Paris wasn't a gore fest, and it wasn't a victory lap. It was a reset. If you thought the story stopped when Roman Reigns was stretchered out of Paris La Défense Arena, you missed what happened next. A measured, unmistakable response that shifted the tone from chaos to clarity. Before we dive in, yes, hit subscribe and ring the bell if you vibe with coverage that treats the people like people and the story like a story. Because Jacob Fatu, call him the tribal combat Samoan, call him the Quiet Storm, just reminded the entire WWE Universe that you can deliver a message without turning the dial to reckless. And Bronson, Reed, and Bron Breakker? They learned that lesson the respectful way, through accountability, not escalation. Setting the stage after the bell, before the headlines. Roman Reigns outlasted Bronson Reed in a punishing grudge match, only for post-match turmoil to blur the victory. In the swirl of security redirecting traffic, producers shepherding talent, and medical staff prioritizing Roman's assessment, the broadcast cut away before speculation could eclipse care. Backstage, the tone shifted from emotion to procedure. Adam Pearce removed combustible elements from the building, coordinated transport, and made space for doctors to work. It wasn't sensational, it was clinical, and that choice mattered. By putting duty of care first, WWE framed the next chapter around responsibility, setting a baseline that competition happens in the ring, while recovery and respect lead everywhere else. Jacob Fatu's response: resolve, not rampage. Here's the beat that lands. Jacob Fatu didn't hunt for a parking garage confrontation. He sought out Adam Pearce and asked for structure. Formal challenges, clear stipulations, and a live microphone, not to grandstand, but to outline standards, became his ask. He used his voice before his hands, discipline before temper. For fans used to Fatu tearing through obstacles, that restraint echoed louder than 100 cheap shots. His message to Reed and Breakker was direct and professional. Settle this under the lights, with officials present, and rules everyone can see. Strength without chaos reads as leadership, and leadership is what the moment demanded. The moment you didn't see, confrontation de-escalated. Yes, there was a tense corridor encounter. Voices tightened, shoulders squared, and security bridged the space before anyone crossed a line. No ambushes, no worked brawls for clicks, just a boundary drawn in real time. Reed and Breakker were guided toward the exit while medical staff double-checked their post-match status. Fatu stayed centered, on record that this belongs in the ring, on a date, with the world watching and the commission satisfied. The silence that followed wasn't fear, it was intention. By letting the temperature fall, everyone preserved the thing that matters most: a safe path to a decisive, compelling resolution. Why it worked: power with a human pulse. Audiences don't need blow-by-blow brutality to feel stakes. They need clarity about what's at stake. Fatu's approach sold more than danger. It sold direction. Chin level, eyes steady, words chosen. He projected a standard, not a stunt. Tribal justice, in this telling, isn't volatility. It's stewardship of the craft and the people inside it. That's why it connected. Fans recognize care disguised as confidence. A performer refusing to let emotion become hazard, insisting that the payoff belongs where the contracts live and the bell rings. The credibility gained in restraint pays off later when the action does escalate, safely under rules. Reed and Breakker. Silence as signal. Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker kept their counsel, and that quiet was smart. In a timeline where instant commentary often pours gasoline on embers, they chose to pause, heal, reflect, and consider what they want the next page to read. The first words they speak on television will carry weight, acknowledge blurred lines, recommit to the shared craft, and point energy towards safe, spectacular work that earns heat without risking partners. Growth arcs in wrestling don't hinge on spin, they hinge on adjustment. If they lean into accountability, this becomes a pivot point rather than a stain. And fans tend to reward honest pivots. Management's mandate: guardrails and green lights. Adam Pearce and team walk the tightrope you want from leadership, Protect the injured, cool the floor, then invite the principals to make their cases in daylight. Expect follow-through. Revisions to exit protocols, tighter post-match clearance, and proximity plans when tensions spike. Counterbalancing those guardrails, anticipate green lights that steer fervor into performance, sanction challenges, stipulations that reward control, and production choices that emphasize consequence without courting harm. When leadership models measured action, talent can go big between the ropes because the scaffolding around the ring is sturdy. That is how you raise the ceiling without weakening the foundation. The vision, the ripples, the reframed Seth Rollins and the vision love a power vacuum and briefly postured into the space Roman's absence created. The twist is that Fatu's restraint undercut their narrative. You can't bait a disciplined rival. If the vision want leverage, they'll have to earn it in the ring, not the rumor mill. That's better television anyway. Two philosophies colliding, disruption versus order, where the only acceptable outcome is a bell and a finish. When your foil refuses chaos, you either elevate your standard or reveal your dependence on noise. The former builds legacies, the latter fades when the lights go up. Cameras, transparency, and the line. Everyone saw yes, building security reviewed footage, because accountability beats voyeurism. No, we didn't need grainy replays to feel the stakes. WWE kept the focus on Roman's care and concrete next steps for everyone involved, which is as sound culturally as it is commercially. Viewers don't require gotcha clips to invest. They need to see leaders set tone, talent follow it, and consequences that teach without endangering. In a media cycle addicted to extremes, calm clarity reads as confidence. The camera's job is to illuminate, not inflame, so the story breathes, the people remain safe, and the match that follows is the payoff. Fans choose substance. The hashtags told on themselves: support for Roman, respect for Jay, earned admiration for Fatu's clarity. Signs reading family and do it right popped up across arenas, and merchandise moved because people felt connected, not manipulated. That matters. When a fan base chooses empathy over escalation, it gives creative permission to build bigger stories without gambling with bodies. Momentum becomes culture when audiences reward sincerity. Less shock, more substance. Fewer car crashes, more craft. You can't demand that response. You have to deserve it. This week, the crowd chose the human story, and that choice resets what over looks like. The Roman factor, patience as power. Roman's best next move isn't a surprise entrance. It's protocols and patience. He'll listen to doctors rather than deadlines, and that should be celebrated. Roman's presence is bigger than any belt, and the arena is already holding space for him. Whether he returns to a fortified bloodline or a reimagined orbit, the principle is the same. Center of gravity isn't myth. It's people who showed up when the lights were off. Patience here isn't passivity. It's a veteran's command over what he can control, trusting recovery to dictate timing so the pop is earned and the performer is ready to enjoy it. Jacob Fatu's elevation. Without excess, Fatu's stock climbed precisely because he didn't spike the football. No indulgent promo, no threat for threat's sake, just contracts and time. In an industry that often confuses volume with value, his quiet cut through. Younger talent can learn from that film. The strongest person in the room typically doesn't need to perform strength to possess it. Creative can learn too. Audiences hear clarity even when the volume is low. When Fatu finally unloads between the ropes, the impact will land twice, inside the match and in the memory of how deliberately he built the road toward it. The culture pivot from shock to stewardship. The week after Paris nudged WWE's center of gravity from bigger, louder, wilder, toward sharper, safer, smarter. Agents emphasized sequencing and spacing over spectacle for spectacle's sake. Producers mapped escalations that thrill without tipping, and veterans mentored loudly about longevity. How you take care of your dance partner every night is the legacy that endures. This pivot doesn't soften the product, it future-proofs it. Precision landings beat reckless cliff dives because the rivalries stay hot for years instead of weeks, and the bodies carrying them arrive at year 5 with more to give. Business without the bluster, yes. Ratings bumped and searches spiked. But the KPI that mattered was sentiment. Sponsors praised the emphasis on care. Mainstream outlets covered the human angle rather than the loudest theory. Fans rewarded sincerity. WWE found a lane where nuance sells. Less shock, more substance, fewer collisions, more composition. Buzz buys you a night, trust buys you a decade. By foregrounding health and respect in the aftermath, the company made a deposit in the latter. Compound interest shows up in arenas as much as spreadsheets. Steadier ticket lines, warmer crowd tone, and patience for slow-burn stories that actually pay off. The Bloodline's next beat speculation will sprint. Alliances imagined, reckonings forecast, surprise pairings debated. But the clean red is this. Responsibility is the new spine. Whether the family tightens inward like a fortress or opens doors to unexpected allies who showed up when it counted, the theme holds. Trust is the heaviest title, and you can't counterfeit it. That currency is what the group just banked, on screen and off, and it gives every future beat a sturdier backbone. When the music hits again, the pop won't just be for dominance, it'll be for durability, and the crowd can feel the difference. Reed and Breaker's course correction. There's a blueprint if they want it. Step 1. Acknowledge the moment without defensiveness. Step 2. Call for the right matches and the right mentors to sharpen pacing, timing, and trust signals. Step 3. Build the next chapter around craft. Conditioning that shows, chemistry that reassures, execution that elevates. The most compelling turns in wrestling aren't born from spin, they're born from growth fans can actually see. Reed and Breaker have the tools and the platform. Now they have the context. If they lean into that, this week becomes the beginning of their best work, not the footnote before it. The Vision's countermove, if they're wise. If Seth Rollins wants to win the war of ideas, he'll drop the smirk and raise the standard. Call for a proving ground match. Rules tight, consequences clear. Ask for a stipulation that rewards restraint instead of punishing it. Time limits, rope breaks that matter, countouts enforced. Meet discipline with discipline and the product thrives. Try to out-chaos a calm opponent and you play yourself. Audiences love swagger, but they stay for substance. The Vision can be the foil that forces the Bloodline to evolve. If it embraces the same accountability it's been daring others to demonstrate. Production notes, how to shoot respect. A quick nod to the truck. Fewer shaky cams, more locked frames, fewer gotcha tight shots, more wides that let body language breathe. Hold on the faces that matter. Roman rehabbing, Jay steadying, Fatu waiting his turn, so viewers connect at human speed. Give medical updates the gravity they deserve. Lower thirds with clear timelines. Announcers who speak plainly. Save the stingers for the bell. When production resists the urge to editorialize through chaos, performers earn the big crescendos where they belong. In sequence, on time, with the audience strapped in rather than braced. Roman's roadmap. Locker room's opportunity. Roman's roadmap is a veteran's pivot. Trust specialists, clear the calendar, let the body set the pace. The side effect is healthy for everyone else. With the gravitational center temporarily off stage, lanes open. Mid-carders find main event oxygen, tags and women's programs expand, and a dozen wrestlers audition for the next rung. The mandate is simple, keep the standard high and the people safe. So when Roman returns, he steps into a room ready for him, not dependent on him. That's how you build depth, not by replacing a star, but by surrounding him with peers when he walks back in. The Vision revisited. Heat that helps, one more note on heel heat that serves the show. Pick goals the audience recognizes as tests, not traps. If Rollins frames his pursuit as proving he can out-wrestle the most disciplined member of the Bloodline under rules he can't bend, fans will loathe the character while loving the challenge. That's sustainable heat, the kind that pushes opponents higher rather than pulling the product sideways. In an era where everyone can see the seams, the clearest route to reactions is excellence in public, not chaos in the margins. Fans as co-authors. The crowd wrote half this chapter. They chose empathy over outrage, patience over pile-on, and signs that said family over chance designed to burn. That choice told creative what the market values right now. Human stakes, careful build, authentic consequences. When audiences co-author like that, the company can be braver with slow burns and sturdier with boundaries. The reward is a loop of trust, fans invest, performers deliver, executives protect. And that loop is how eras outlast algorithms. This week proved the audience isn't fragile, it's discerning. Meet them there, and they'll meet you at the gate early. Closing, the line that lasts. The Bloodline remembers works as myth. The reality that endures is better. The family remembers to protect its own, restores balance without courting chaos, and never forgets that in a craft built on impact, the most lasting impact is how well you care for the person across from you. Roman Reigns is healing. Jey Uso is steadying. Jacob Fatu just proves strength and restraint can share a sentence. Reed and Breaker have the chance to turn a tense week into a year of contribution. And the locker room leaves with an updated North Star. Elevate the moment without endangering the human. In a business that thrives on surprise, the story that will outlive the sizzle is the one chosen here. Loyalty over noise, stewardship over spectacle, and a collective promise that tomorrow's biggest ovations will be earned by performers healthy enough to hear them. That's not just good television. That's how you build a legacy.